I grew up in a council house on a housing estate, income support, free school meals, gyros once a fortnight. My mum had really bad mental health problems. I remember from being about the age of 10 being my mum's main carer. The roles were reversed. I looked after her. I had my child really early and became a young mum myself, and I really wanted to prove that I wasn't just the person that didn't make anything of a life. I started to work as a home help, went into the trade union movement because of working as a home carer, and the girls who I worked alongside said, "Ange, why don't you be our union rep?" And I was like, "What's a trade union?" I joined the union, got my education and really found a passion in me, which was that I've always wanted to look after people. And I was so proud when people asked, "What do you do for a living?" I'd say, "Oh, I'm a home carer." And then when I became an MP, I get paid a huge amount more, but when people ask me what do I do for a living, I almost feel like I have to be apologetic. And I think that's really sad, because what members of parliament do is really important and affects people's lives, but far too often now people don't think politicians work for them. Parliament seems so abstract to most people's lives. They think that politicians do it to them rather than that politicians are them. Seeing the likes of Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg pretend that they care about people that grew up like me. Boris Johnson is no more superior than any of my friends who I grew up with. It's just that he's had privileges that my friends will never see. I want the whole country to change so that everyone's child could do well, and that we don't have these systems and institutions that hold people back and make them feel not good enough. I've not worked any harder than any of my friends, and a lot of my friends have killed themselves because life's got too difficult for them, or they're struggling now working 2 jobs. And that's kind of why I talk about my story and my background now, because for too long I felt I wasn't good enough. I felt ashamed of who I was and where I come from, whereas now I feel really proud of who I am. I know that I represent people like me, and that we are the salt of the earth, and that we are what makes our community strong, and you should never be ashamed of who you are. People from working class backgrounds, they don't want handouts. They want the means to be able to work themselves and to build their communities. They don't want to be told that they can't have, or that we have to be managed decline generation. Before Jeremy was elected leader of the Labour Party, we were austerity light.
We don't have to be unequal. It doesn't have to be unfair. Poverty isn't inevitable.
We know it's a global economic crisis that created the problems that we had with the banks, and yet we weren't arguing that case. We should have been investing in our infrastructure, investing in British business, and investing in our young people, giving hope and aspiration to people. And Jeremy Corbyn and what he stood for was about doing that. The Labour Party has grown massively. We have over 500,000 members now. It's so important that we continue to democratise and to respect the fact that the party is such a diverse place. One of the other things that we have to recognise is divided parties don't win general elections. The 2019 general election defeat was devastating. Too many of our northern towns and Midlands turned away from us. We cannot ever take anyone for granted. We have to listen. I've always been a fighter. I've never had things handed to me on a plate, and over the next 5 years we've got to get that fire in our belly, because the people that we represent deserve that. We can't wallow in self-pity. We've got to get up there, dust ourselves down and make sure that we're fighting for our communities and showing them that actually we can affect change, that we do know what their concerns are, that we are listening, and we will make the future better. I'm running for deputy leader because I think our party has to come together. I can use my skills to not only take it to the Tories, but also about setting out that future of what the Labour Party stands for, to win those seats, support our activists, to make sure people see that socialism is about looking after our neighbours. If we can get a Labour government, then we can make sure that there's no need for food banks, that we can create children's centres again, where we look after our young people, giving them the best start in life, where we can make sure that our children can go to university without debt, people can get housing, that we can have community spirit. All of those things are possible if we can have one Labour movement that takes us forward to a Labour government.